I beat my dick so goddamn hard. I am a fucking retard. Hey everybody, Exro here, back with another Easy Target. Today on this exciting episode of Dear God, I Should Have Pulled Out, Please Forgive Me, we're going to take a look at all the controversy surrounding the entirety of the movie Black Panther. Now, in case you aren't aware of the situation at all, holy shit, you are one lucky motherfucker. So lucky, in fact, that I'm almost willing to tell you to click off this video now to spare you some, spare you some brain cells. Unfortunately, however, I'm not that generous, and I will totally dox you if you click off, because I'm just that cool. I'm just that rad of a dad. We're going to be looking over some articles today that try to point out why and how any critique of this movie is actually a hate speech, as Rotten Tomatoes themselves have so delicately put it. Rotten Tomatoes will block anyone who tries to sabotage Black Panther fan score. We do not condone hate speech. Now, if anyone is using Rotten Tomatoes as a reputable review site for movies and things of the such, here's your destination. Now's your turn to get off the bus, because this is about the worst thing Rotten Tomatoes could do to themselves. Which is truly a shame, because the idea behind Rotten Tomatoes is honestly a pretty great one. The thought process is this: hey, why don't we take the reviews of the fans and critics alike and combine them all together to come to a generalized score. Of course, obviously separating the fans and critics scores, because if we combine them all together, it would be the biggest shit show since Women's March. And yeah, this is a really cool idea, and I like it a lot. Too bad it's completely redundant now, since the site manipulates scores to set some sort of political agenda. I'm a strong believer in execution. And no, I'm not talking about the guillotine or anything like that. What I mean when I say this is that I believe it's all about how everything was put together, and how all of these elements of filmmaking correspond with one another to create the movie itself, rather than the intentions that the movie held during creation. I believe it's all about the final product, and not the stuff that went into the making of the final product. Of course, that's not to say that the things that went into the making of the final product aren't interesting, but the final product has to be good enough to deem the making of such interesting. Basically put, I don't care about the behind the scenes to the Bye Bye Man. I don't care about what the symbolism in that movie could possibly be, because it's a shitty movie. However, the symbolism and behind the scenes to a movie like The Shining, on the other hand, are miles more interesting, because the original source material is good enough to allow the symbolism to be looked more into. It shouldn't be the other way around, like what Rotten Tomatoes is trying to say by exclaiming that any criticism behind this movie is hate speech on the sole basis of a predominantly black cast. Hell, I don't even know much about this movie, but I don't think it's even trying to push any sort of political agenda by having a predominantly black cast. I think that choice is just the result of the fact that the story setting is fucking Africa. Yeah, no shit, it'd be weird to see a predominantly white society in goddamn Africa. Okay, what the hell does this even mean? Claws out. How Black Panther fought off a toxic Ghostbusters-style online campaign. The pushback against an attempt to lower the superheroes movie score on Rotten Tomatoes has shown that the culture's war's latest background is still raging. There are several glaring issues in this title alone, but I think the first and foremost issue is the assumption that there was any sort of toxic backlash against the movie to begin with. Reading into the article more, it's specifically talking about the one reviewer who gave it a bad score that kept it from getting an 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But even so, how does one single person signify that there's some sort of toxic backlash? I, for one, have not seen anybody complain about this movie at all ever since its announcement from what, a year ago, maybe? Fucking, I don't remember. For some people, even fucking two, if they consider Civil War to be the announcement. Not saying that it doesn't exist, but the fact that I haven't seen a single complaint for this movie since its announcement is a pretty good signifier that whatever backlash there is, isn't popular enough to have gotten the same amount of attention that these reporters claim they have gotten. Now, for the backlash that is actually focused on the predominant black cast, I assume it's either people who are ignorant to the movie's setting or who are just flat out racists. I'm not going to say that racists don't exist. I mean, for as long as time itself, there will always be this superiority complex that kind of plagues our nation. As long as there's two people on the planet, there will forever be this kind of self-implemented sense of superiority. However, like I've been saying, these are nowhere near in the same light of backlash as something like the Ghostbusters backlash, which is something else I'm about to touch on right now. The second biggest known flaw in this article is the well-known fact at this point that all the backlash and negative comments on the Ghostbusters trailers are cherry-picked. Sony themselves went through deleting comments that critically analyzed the movie so that any hate that would have been in the comments would have been sexists or trolls, so that Sony could make themselves out to be the victims of a neck-bearded society. So yeah, that comparison's not even entirely accurate. Next! Now this is the funniest article that we're going to be looking at today, as it's the one shrouded in the most irony. It claims that Trump's America spoils Black Panther's 100% Rotten Tomatoes score. As I've said before, this is indeed true. There was one reviewer who didn't like the movie and gave it a negative review. However, the truly ironic part that instantly shatters this argument is the fact that the reviewer who gave the movie a negative review in the first place was fucking Irish. So to say that it's Trump's America's fault is, it's quite the stretch there, whenever the person reviewing the fucking movie isn't even American to begin with. However, it's not exactly on the same basis as you would presume it is. It's actually, it goes in quite the interesting direction. So let us take a deeper look into this article, shall we? Now, Ed Power is the man who gave the movie its first negative review, and needless to say, he spawns from Ireland. Not even fucking America. Even so, he gave it a 3 out of 5 on his site, independent.ie. Now, as to why it was classified as rotten when his score was 3 out of 5, which is still good in my eyes considering it's out of 5, I have no idea. Even so, however, his biggest complaint is that it stands for something bigger than it is, implying that it doesn't live up to his social commentary that he expected it to be, which is once again something that almost deceivingly contradicts the idea that this has anything to do with, you know, this movie's reviews being spoiled by Trump's America. Like I said though, oh boy, are we in a treat. We're about to delve into some of the weirdest territory that I think I've ever witnessed an article take. The article itself mentions all of this. It brings up the fact that he's Irish, it brings up the fact that it didn't live up to his own political agenda, which is about the same political agenda that these reporters are trying to take, or rather are trying to tack onto the movie in the first place. This is what the article reads off. Going into further detail, Power suggests that Donald Trump plays a role in dragging down Black Panther, writing, 14 months into Trump's presidency, Black Panther arrives on storm clouds of hype and with the presumption that, as the first African-set Marvel movie, it will deliver a resounding high kick to prejudice and decades of hierarchy, racial and otherwise, in blockbuster cinema. It is expected to stand for something bigger than itself. The strain is visible, especially in the performance of Chadwick Boseman as Prince T'Challa, the eponymous Black Panther. Thanks to Donald Trump, Ed Power did not enjoy Black Panther as much as he could have, and thanks to that, Black Panther now only has a 99% score on Rotten Tomatoes instead of a 100. Remember kids, blame Trump for making the movie bad, not Marvel. It's not like they made the movie or anything. We have to blame the president. Folks, you cannot make this shit up. This is the article. Like, why do you even fucking care? It's just a number. Numbers aren't going to lead some sort of social movement, ya jackasses. Not to mention the fact that this is all pre-release of the movie. As the movie draws closer to release date, there will be more public access for legitimate reviewers to make their critique of the movie. And with that, the 99% score will go down. Even if it was at one point 100%, it doesn't fucking matter because it's inevitable for it to fall anyways. I mean, for fuck's sake, Jumanji had a 100% for a little. But hey, doesn't make that the face of all reboots though, does it?
That was so intense. I can't even with this place.
It's truly ironic that the people who make these articles and reviews of the sort claim to be standing for equality. They claim that every race and every gender is equal. Yet immediately whenever there's a movie with a predominant female or black cast, that for some reason is an exception to the rule. No longer can people just critique it like any other movie. That movie for some reason has special treatment. Hey, guess what? If you truly held on to your own beliefs and you truly believed that everyone was equal, then you wouldn't specifically look at every movie with gender or race in mind. You'd look at it from the perspective of if it's a good fucking movie or not. Like what everyone else does. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't even care about race or genders in movies. I didn't care about any of that shit because I don't go into movies thinking about that stuff. I go into movies on the sole basis of if it's entertaining, if it's fun, if it's intriguing, if it's interesting, whatever the fucking movie's strongest point is, that's what I go into the movie looking for. But then people like these start coming out into the mainstream and explaining why you're wrong if you think this movie has its flaws and the reason for that being because of race or gender. It's the people like that who hurt my mind, and it's a completely repulsive and disgusting attitude to hold over any form of media whatsoever. Now, what are my thoughts as to Black Panther? I didn't really grow up with the character, nor do I really relate to him all, so I don't really care that much about it. I'm sure at best it'll probably be a really good and fun Marvel movie, and at worst it'll probably just be an okay Marvel movie, because goddamn, do they have a lot of trouble making bad movies? Apparently, Jesus Christ, they've had a really fucking good record for the last 10 years now. That's really all I had to say surrounding Black Panther, and you know, the sort of critical analysis that a lot of these reporters are taking on it. My final advice to you is that you go into the movie with the viewpoint that it's a movie, like it's any other fucking Marvel movie. There's no reason at all to specifically look at the races or the genders of media unless it is significant in the eye of history. I hope this video has been informing to you as it has been to me. Thank you all for watching, and if you liked it, then subscribe for more stupid shit. I'd be handy dandy with a little bit more of those numbers popping up. I'd be grateful. So you know, if you could just give Big Papa a little tip on the side, I'm a good man. I'm ready to go.